What happened to the chair?
I thought it was really smart, so I did it. But no.
So we can do a very session. We're not doing licenses, but so only calls we need to order at 7 p.m. and us to get any questions. Here. Right, this time, if everyone else wants to go to the station, hours to all in favor? Aye. That's.
And then he said, yeah.
Oh, at the meeting. Oh, yeah.
What are you gonna do on yourself? Scott, like,
So clever.
are you in the same car as every, like?
Yeah.
Sometimes I do depend.
Oh, you're on, Evan, you're just muted. You got the red circle.
The battery. Open it up and replace the batteries inside.
Yeah, it's working.
They put things on that works.
Quite the professional show we operate here.
But that's changing.
That's changing, yes.
Sad.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We're going to begin this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we will remain standing, please, for a moment of silence in honor of our troops that are shooting both here and inside. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Thank you. Please be seated. We often do in June, at the early meeting, we welcome some, any new members of the police force or sometimes it's a moment to honor people. And so this evening, we're going to begin with a couple of things, here. Tonight, we'll begin by swearing in our new full-time Class 2 Special Officer, Ryan Niebuhr. Ryan was with us about 24 years ago, something like that, from 2001 to 2002. And as we say, only the smart ones make it back. So we're glad to see you back, even though it took 20-something years. If you care to join me up here on the dais, swearing in, and if you have your family would like to come up, Jess and Owen and Ryan, you'd be welcome as well.
Like you love each other. Okay, yeah, raise your right hands and repeat after me. I, Ryan Niebuhr,
I, Paul Ryan Niebuhr,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and the governments established
and the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of the office
all the duties of the office
of Class 2 Special Police Officer
of Class 2 Special Police Officer
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Welcome.
Appreciate it.
Put the sign here. We'll notarize that for you.
It's official now.
It's official now. Great, thank you so much.
Nice
All right. Please, thanks again.
Thank you.
Mary, you want a picture?
Oh, yeah, I do want a picture. Quick long picture. I just forgot about the pictures. Come on up. Do you guys want to come down? Sure. Let's have the council.
Guys want to come in uniform?
Yeah, move over a little bit.
Are we double lining this?
You can never.
Can we put our owl on the floor? Just so it's not the picture?
No.
Don't kill them.
Yeah, we need the bird. Everyone's picture.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Yeah.
And next, we'd like to honor and certainly honor and thank our swear in our CERT members. I'm hoping that we can convince Purple Bass to say a few words about the program and about the success of it. So if you don't mind just stepping up and speaking loudly, that would be great.
Shouldn't have a problem speaking loudly. So yeah, so our CERT program kind of got reinstated post Ida. Around the beginning of 2022, we reinstated it after a long hiatus. We started off with about 10 or 11 members. All the members go through a pretty rigorous 40-hour training through Hunterdon County Training Center. I'm proud to say that all of our members have gone through that 40-hour training class, as well as we do regular monthly trainings. We primarily do mostly like traffic assistance, special events such as like Shed, Pride Parade, Halloween. That we call like a force multiplier. They're out there to assist law enforcement looking for suspicious activity, helping to be a visible presence in case we have lost children that need to be reunited with their parents. They're just helping out on every street corner. Just again, being extra set of eyes, ears, and hands out there to help with larger events. God forbid there is a need for law enforcement, we can still have adequate protection and assistance in these different environments. While we're handling a more serious event, they can still help with traffic and help coordinate pedestrian safety and stuff like that. And they're also called throughout the county as well. We have mutual aid agreements, so they go up to Flemington, help with the Flemington parades, Holland Township, Frenchtown. They've been all over, as well as their members come down to assist us with larger events as well. So we recently brought in 6 new members. They are part of the Federal New York Chaplains Association. So they all came to us. They're all local residents here in Lambertville and West Amble. We're very gracious to have them. They've been wonderful. In a month, they came in and they just boots on the ground, started working right away. The first week was Shack Fest. They didn't even go through the training yet. They were phenomenal. Rudine is the head pastor, I believe, for his church. And I go to Rudine, I tell him what I need done, and he just gets it done right away. So congratulations to our newest, all 6 of them just attended the training and just graduated at the end of May. So
Thank you. How many members do we have?
we're up to 16 now.
16.
Yeah,
That's great.
so spread the word if anyone's looking to volunteer. It's not a heavy lift, but we do encourage volunteers at any time. If you're looking to kind of help out, you don't know, you want to give back to the community a little bit, you don't know what to do, at least inquire with the CERT team and see if it's something that you could do. Emergency Operations Center on the OEM side, they help out with like running the OEM and data entry and stuff like that. So somebody's not physically capable of standing for long periods of time and directing traffic, there may be another situation or job for you as well. So,
Thank you, John.
yep.
So if the CERT members are,
Their names?
what's that?
All right, list off all 16 names.
Oh, there's 16.
Well, 16 total, yes. Yes.
They're not all here.
So if those CERT members who are able to just maybe stand here in front of the desk looking forward, I'll come around and we'll do the joint swearing in.
Why don't you just all come around here?
I'll get on that side.
I'll go on that side.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. You'll have to say your name, so just put your own name in. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and the governments established in the United States and in this state under the authority of the people, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of the office CERT team according to the best of my ability. So help me God. Welcome. Thank you. All the council members stand up and we'll get a picture of you guys in the back. Thank you very much. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Let's try to block you.
I know. She can send it to us. Yeah. Thank you.
I can get a copy.
Now.
Oh, that's.
Oh, no problem. You want to look at it? Sure. And now, we will take a minute to honor somebody who's been around for a very long time. And I kind of wish I had like a big boom box blasting 70s disco music, because I remember so many hours, that person was sort of driving by my house with his windows down blasting music. A true Lambertville original. So Vern, if you could join me up at the dais. Well, I'd like to present Vern with his plaque in grateful recognition of 25 years of service. Presented to Vernon Barlow. Thank you for your exceptional dedication to the city of Lambertville and for your unwavering service to the community. 25 years this month in Lambertville.
Wow.
So. Good job. Council down there. Thank you. Yeah. I know, but that's. Oh,
I know.
We love you, Vern.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us tonight. We'll see you on the streets. Now's your chance.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Zoom it. No, I'll stay for a little,
All
but then I'll Zoom.
There we go.
right. Before we move on to the public participation session, I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that today The city, the affordable housing attorney, appeared in court, with K. Hovnanian and the judge as regards to the high school, matter. And, I'm just going to read a statement that Kelly Grant, our attorney, sent to me, just, kind of, explaining how the session went. And I know that there were some residents who attended the hearing today as well. She writes, Mayor, earlier this afternoon, Judge Ballard held oral arguments on KHOP's motion to reopen our conditional judgment compliance in the codes. As you'll recall, Fair Share has joined KHOP's request to the extent that they rely on KHOP's assertion that the high school site is no longer zoned for the realistic opportunity for the development of affordable housing. We argue that the city has not acted in bad faith and remains substantially compliant with the 2020 amended settlement agreement. During the hearing, the judge indicated that he was going to reserve his decision and wanted to review the correspondence that was submitted by residents, as well as all of the recent DEP updates. I will transmit the DEP letters to the court and council. Lastly, Judge Ballard reminded us that we could meet with Frank Banish at any time if he thought the parties could help move the matter forward. So that's the update on that situation, and just a reminder for the rest of the meeting, we're not gonna have any further comment on any possible litigation regarding Hovnanian or the tort claims related to contamination of certain private wells in the state. And with that, I will open up the meeting to public comment. As always, we ask you to say your name and address. You have 3 minutes uninterrupted time. Lindsay will give you a 30-second warning, and the council may or may not respond.
Jeff Tittle, 33 Wilson Street, and I did listen into the hearing, and I've gotten 40 years involvement in dealing with Mount Laurel litigation and builders remedy lawsuits, and I will say that our attorney did the best job she could, considering her hands were tied behind her back and she didn't have the resources or the documents to let her have a fair fight. I think Hovnanian took our brief, and because again, when people don't understand, when you have oral arguments, it's based on the briefs, it's not based on, you can't bring in new evidence. And ripped it apart, used all the different things that have been done by the council and the mayor and others against the town, everything from basically using the September 9th, 2024 slideshow and meeting against us, where we said that the site was available and buildable, where we downplayed the importance of the problems on the site, where we did not come up with alternatives or an alternative plan. And the reason I'm bringing this up is it's not new and it's not unexpected. People like myself have been saying this since last June. And the fact that we didn't hire professionals, we did for our litigation, but not for this case, to show why PFAS and the problems on that site would impact it as a potential place for affordable housing, came back to haunt us. And they used that against us to subvert everything she said, because she did raise some of those issues. But they said, you have no professionals, you have no planning documents, you have no reports. So who can, and that bothers me, because they had pay dirt with that, and they had pay dirt with a lot of other things. And you know, I'm really upset because we're putting ourselves into a situation where we have one thing that may help us, which is a judge who seems fair, who may decide based on the letter from DEP. And yesterday we asked for them to go in, and the attorney said we shouldn't do that. And I know Councilwoman Kaminsky had mentioned it at the meeting on the planning board. But that may be our one hope, where basically the DEP, you know, report and study of the site could actually delay this and may show why the site is not feasible. But on the other hand, based on the case today, where you know, we went after the town for working with them for 2 years, for having agreed to being a redevelopment area, having agreed to 200 units, and so on and so forth. He struck a lot of major points, and so I'm really concerned, and I'm really upset that we could have done better. We could have done a report. We could have come up with alternative sites. We could have done so much more. And now it's going to be in the hands of a judge. But I can tell you this, if I was betting, unfortunately, I think we're in bad shape. I mean, I feel like we're the New York Jets right now.
Hey. That's my team. Sorry.
Used to be mine too.
Please.
Fair weather fan.
Sean Ellis, 21 Belvedere. I agree with Jeff. I came in a little bit late, but what I saw was abysmal. It should be a slam dunk for us, and it looks instead like somebody's throwing the game. I mean, honestly, I can't believe how weak it was of an argument, given that all we know and all that we did not share with the court. And I'm glad that the judge is going to look at the correspondence from residents, because maybe that will fill in the blanks for him that the city failed to provide. But I really think that, I don't know if it was incompetence or strategy, but we are not putting our A game forward on this, and I just I think we need new professionals, honestly. I think we need a new city planner. They are cookie cutter, do not even understand some of the legal, I mean, Scott Solomon and gentleman from the planning board, Michael Sullivan, were like arguing over the details of the impact and of our vulnerabilities. You know, Mr. Opel falls asleep during council sessions. He gets paid over $300 an hour and never gives any answers, even after repeatedly being asked, which basic things, the law, you know, how is this New Jersey law going to affect your development plans? And to me, I don't know what we're paying for, honestly. And it's just hard to watch, honestly. Because again, it should have been a slam dunk. So hopefully the residents' correspondence will have some say in this. Thank you.
My name is Susan Marvello, and I live at 8 Hillside Court. And I wish this was a cautionary tale and not reality. I really hope that some things can be learned from this. I came to many meetings starting quite a long time ago, and it just seemed like the public was trying so hard to get through to everyone about what a bad idea this was on so many levels. And it felt as though it fell on deaf ears until more recently. And I really feel that this is devastating. And I feel that it was, and even though this is not my area of expertise, just from listening, asking questions, reading, I just know in my heart that this could have been avoided. And I really feel that this was a failure. And I hope that you can look at what went wrong here and really be honest about where the mistakes were made. We all make mistakes. I've made more than I care to remember myself, believe me. But I really feel this is very serious, and I think it's put us all in peril. And I would like to hear from the city council members. I don't think that you have all felt the same way about all of this from the beginning. I really don't. And I'm not really sure exactly where things went awry, but I am really so distressed by this. And I feel so badly for my neighbors on Connaught Hill. I feel really glad that people are showing up about the Finkel's thing, but it pisses me off that something that's happening in downtown Lambertville, everybody shows up. But when something happens on the hill, oh, well, it's not gonna affect us too much. It's not gonna affect me directly that much, but it affects me because this is my town, these are my people. And I feel that there were so many cries for help and it didn't come. And I saw it with my own eyes, I heard it with my own ears. And I am very, very upset about this, and I really hope that, okay, I know I'm done. 30 seconds I've left. Any comments on what I'm saying? You can't. I know, you can't. I know that you didn't all feel the same way about this. I know that. I just want you to know that I know that. And thank you for all of the really good things that you do. I appreciate your time and energy. I just think this was very, thank you.
Judy Gleason, 86 North Union Street. I'm not gonna pile on with all the things that have just been said by people before me about how disappointed they are and all the things they're saying. I agree with that, but my point in coming up here is, and as you know, because I always say it, I've been coming up to this microphone since last August saying, we gotta look at some other sites, we gotta do something. We heard today, hearing the arguments, that we are stuck, unable to respond when somebody says, they didn't do anything, they didn't do anything, they didn't do anything. So the cautionary tale, and I hope lesson for anybody who's hearing this, anybody who's here, anybody in town, we can't just act as though at the end of the day, it'll be fine. Because the record is the record is the record. So I come up here every meeting and say the same thing, partly because I want the record to show that over and over, this was identified. But we need to do that for everything, and everybody here needs to do that for everything, because you guys can't be expected to know every piece of the puzzle every minute. I don't expect you to. But I do think, and I think what Susan just said is true, that council to a large degree is aware of this and has faced this in various sessions and what have you that you all have. But I don't know what's gonna happen with this one. I didn't feel good. I was embarrassed to hear the arguments today. I thought, man, I'm glad I wasn't the attorney for us. We did not have any place to go. We were not in a good place. But we will have more decisions in the future about many things. We have to start realizing we can't just not do it. We can't just not move the ball. We can't just not try. And the Finkel's property is a good example. We're gonna have chances. We, the larger we, the council, the citizens, and I hope we learn from this, because I don't feel good about how this is gonna turn out. Who knows? But in the future, we know now what we have to do. We have to be able to stand before a judge, God forbid we have to, and say, no, we saw this and we did this. We saw that and we did that. We were doing, we were thinking, we were trying, instead of saying, well. So, you know, I mean, you're hearing the same thing, but please, anybody who listens to this or anybody who's here, know that the voices from here are the only way to make it happen. So, you know, hopefully it turns out better than I'm thinking it's going to, and hopefully we're ready for the next fight. Thank you.
John Towns, 14 Hancock. Well, I'm kind of disappointed. I don't really know what happened today because unfortunately I was working. I do want to point a couple of things out again with feeling. At least 2 officers of the court, Evan and our city attorney, were up there talking with the judge, and none of this information was shared. That's on you guys. At this point, I think the residents should cast a vote of no confidence, not just with the mayor and his handling or lack of this situation, but I think the rest of the city council needs to be held accountable. Sorry, guys, where we're sitting in cheap seats, nothing was done in good faith. Nothing. You guys have gotten results of polluted ground and groundwater And you sat on it. Do you guys even lose sleep over that? Any of you? Now you're gonna get this 200+ development up there on that hill. Good luck, because the water runs right down that hill. Does already. If you think the north end of town flooded bad, wait till that nonsense happens down in the south end. No environmental studies done, nothing. What has this council done? What? What is my tax dollar paid for? Not a lot. You should all be ashamed of yourselves. And we should be voting every single one of you out. Because what you're doing is completely ludicrous and dangerous. You're gonna stick 200 low-income people up on that hill with poisonous water and poison ground, and you don't care. Well, congratulations, you got a 300-unit development up on that hill. Good job. Oh, by the way, the south end of town is gonna flood now. Good job. By the way, the BLS unit here in town is gonna be answering additional pedestrian struck calls for the people on that hill trying to walk down to the local store. You ready for that? For any of the good you've done, thank you. But I'm not seeing a lot. I don't have a lot of faith in you guys. Do something to change that.
I just want to make two corrections. Neither the city attorney nor Evan presented one oral arguments today. Our affordable housing attorney, Kelly Grant, presented on behalf of the city. So just to clarify that. Are there other members of the public who wish to speak?
John Henchek. Mr. Henchek, please go ahead and state your name and ask your question or make your comment.
John Henchek, 99 Quarry Street, Lambertville, New Jersey. Good evening. I live at 99 Quarry Street, diagonal to the Public Works City Yard. Across the street from me, up on the hill, is a known municipal waste site. However, the DEP does not have records of municipal waste sites prior to 1982, which is a clear indication, as I was explained to me, that it was not regulated by the DEP. So therefore, legally, product was put and dumped, not just what you might say household garbage, but specifically chemicals, toxins, some of which is now in our well, 3 times the limit of what will get you MDL. As I recover, and that's why I have to take it easy now, unlike George Floyd, I couldn't say, I can't breathe. I had no oxygen in my lungs after inhaling toxins from the road. Now, what we have across the street might very well be 55-gallon drums buried of chemicals. But what's most important is that what was supposed to be test borings for the last 3 years by those that are up on Academy Hill or benefit by its construction became blasting, use of dynamite, 2x12 Atlas G cell. And it is a, when you hear the rotary drill at night and it stops at 2:45 in the morning, and then the blasts go off and the tree across the street from you comes out of the ground in July of about 2 years ago. Then in January, we had another blast. It's illegal to blast in the state of New Jersey if you're out of the hours, which are 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday, according to the state. They will be heavily fined. It can be criminally prosecuted, and it can be very dangerous. Now, if we have what might be at the time legally dumped because it wasn't regulated, and there may still be 55-gallon drums of product up there that when you blast could release it. And part of what the original plan that I saw was that there was going to be across the street, up the hill from me, a detention basin, and they were going to take an overflow and run it.
John, would you please wrap it up? Your 3 minutes is up.
Wait till you hear this. They were going to go through the back of the Public Works into the storm drain, just the other side of Public Works in West Amwell. That puts, and we, hey guys, listen, you don't live here. You haven't gone through what we've gone through.
John, please finish. To be equitable for everybody, it's 3 minutes.
It's not just equitable. Listen, Mayor, you and I have had differences of opinion on this. And as a constitutionalist, I'll make it very clear, this is an abridgment of the First Amendment. And you see, and wait a second, it will go further. I just don't want it to be part of the record here in Lambertville, and I've been holding back but hey, listen, I'm telling you very clearly, there's things I wanted to tell the council that were really great news. But now, if this is going to happen across the street from where I live, what do I have to live for? Well, thank you, Mayor. I think you've done it to us all pretty damn good well.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Hi, Karen, 57 Belvedere Avenue. I'm on the West Amwell side. I have to say, I'm pretty disappointed on the Lambertville side as far as getting involved to help us up there. There's been no help in helping us get tested for the wells. We've done a fundraiser. We've gotten grants on the West Amwell side. There's still folks up there that still need to be tested, do not have the money for it. What is the city doing to help any of those folks that need help?
Well, you know, I just, since you brought it up, and I do have a suggestion I was bringing to the wanted to bring to the council tonight. Because we have, our financial advisor gave us 2 options in terms of pursuing a capital bond issue. But I think in the interim, I think we have the Lambertville Emergency Fund. It has money in it. And
A little bit.
but it is a little bit, could go a long way to somebody, you know, getting testing or doing something that, you know, because not everybody can put the money out of pocket to do it. So, you know, since we have it, and, you know, this thing has been going on and on and on, and in terms of, do I sleep at night or do I not? Depends on the day, but a lot of times not, because I think about this. And that's my solution right now. I also want to offer, and I know who does too, I'll help anybody do the paperwork. I'll put out office hours, people can come to my house on Wednesday night, or I'll come and can do it. I can deliver your stuff to DEP, can do whatever we can do to try to like lend a hand. But I think that we do have some money there, just like when people flood or there's a fire and they have to put out of their house, you know, pay for them to stay at the Clarion, you know, we can maybe see what we can do. If people come and at least express what their problems are, so we know what we're addressing, and then see what else we need to do. But we have to start having like the one-to-one conversations. I see you here, you come here, I know you now, but it's true, and you hear like these stories, but like, go on here, one-on-one, and see if we can help each of these households, because there are residents. And no, this is going on, and we have a DEP that has a plan. They gave us a 9-page plan of what they're gonna be doing. It's gonna take a while, but there are folks that can't put that money out. We've all been there, you know? You know, when you write it. So I will best people, I will put my time into it. I know everybody's busy, but that's what I think about creating.
Cindy, I'm wondering, is this something that maybe the administrator of the fall trust can look into?
Perhaps. I
Right,
mean, there's a
support.
process for doing that.
Yeah,
The issue is, we need to identify how many people and what their needs are. And I don't think there's enough in this fund to cover it all.
But we don't know
You don't
what
know.
it is, so let's find out what it is and
Most of
see
it
what we
is
can
in
do.
your first
That's all I'm
work.
saying, it's like, it's not a huge budget.
right, if we get.
But,
a
you know,
sense
we got
of the
somebody right now who needs help or needs to get a repair done so they can put in a treatment system or do whatever. At least we can be there, we can help or know what we need to do to offer that help. So I will bet them, I don't, I'll take the time to do that. So it's not an extra burden. I know we don't have a staff person to do it, but it's just fine, I'd love to help. I know you got a lot, but I can do that.
We're
I'm
all
up.
happy to help,
Yeah.
and there's a process in place for the
Yeah.
emergency fund. That's not the issue. We need direction from the governing body.
My last comment is, I wish you would take care of the people that live here already
Yes.
and not worry about the future ones that might come or might not come. You need to start taking care of the people that are here now, that are paying taxes now, that are voting you into these seats. You need to start listening to them. That's it.
Anyone else online?
No,
How many people do we have online?
five.
Okay. May I have a motion to close the public comment period, please? Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Bills list, we have a short bills list tonight, we just one or two bills at the last part of the month, so, I hope everybody had a chance to look at those two, bills. I'll make a motion to approve the bills list, is there a second? Second. All in favor of approving the bills list, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Resolutions, we have a consent agenda this evening, the agenda consists of resolutions 96-2025 through 99-2025. Are there any questions about any of this, from the council members?
Library looks great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll talk about that. I could actually can talk about the elevator in a second. All right, I have a motion to adopt the resolutions of the consent agenda from 96-2025 through 99-2025.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so the elevator, just to note, there will probably be a change order on the elevator. It turns out that, because the elevator installation needs to communicate with the, fire suppression system, of which there is none. So we are going to install a system, as part of the elevator, required, and the libraries never had one. So we'll probably have a change order on that sometime soon, as soon as I've got the numbers. Library does look great. They've made a lot of progress today. The interior is almost completely finished. They're gonna need City Hall just a little longer. So we gotta share some space. I'm very pleased with that project. We're gonna move on to ordinances, first reading, ordinance number 13-2025. This is an ordinance of the city of Lambertville authorizing a special emergency appropriation pursuant to NJSA 40:4-53 for the purpose of funding preparation of revised tax maps. This is something that we are allowed to do, and it will allow us to spread out payments of tax maps over the next 3 years. The tax maps were last updated in, I believe, 2007, something like that.
I think, 2000, it may have even been longer.
Yeah, so I think it's fair to say that this is grossly overdue.
I've been saying that for how long?
I know. Are there any questions about this from the council? I have a motion to, introduce on first reading, ordinance number 13-2025. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'll note that we have a public hearing for this ordinance scheduled on June 26, 2025. Next is ordinance number 14-2025. This is an ordinance of the city of Lambertville and the county of Hunterdon, New Jersey, providing for various capital improvements of and for the city, appropriating $1,100,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,045,000 in general improvement bonds or notes to the city to finance the same. I'm just going to walk through this, explain what these amounts are so that everybody's familiar with them. And certainly if anybody has any questions, I can certainly answer them at any time. From the police department, we have a number of exemption repairs that are required, and these are to be in compliance with NJDOC. Things like repairing the outside lighting, headquarters, the purchase of body worn cameras. We are seeking some funds to paint the exterior of the light of the police station, which was last done by Lieutenant Brown's father in 2000 and something, a long time ago. So we're looking to bond $8,000 for safety and $800 for safety, $20,000 for paint, and $60,000 for the purchase of the body worn cameras, which is required. Moving on to public works, we are seeking to bond for a replacement Ford F-250 pickup. This would replace the 2011 version of the same, which has taken a beating and it's got lots of miles on it. The estimate that we obtained for that is $46,000. The new recycling truck, our current recycling truck is from 2009. Not only is it starting to show signs of old age, it wouldn't start today. So we would like to bond for that. And the estimate for that is $350,000. Technology, we are looking to do upgrades here at the Justice Center, including the sound system, microphones that integrate with hearing aids, visual aids, virtual meeting platforms, and new chairs and possible configuration of the dais. So the technology at the Justice Center was installed 20 years ago, and 2005 is what I have here, so 2002. The microphones were updated in 2014. Estimates from the vendors from a couple of years ago was $75,000, so that's what we're seeking in the bond. Two stormwater numbers. We are required as in the NJDEP Tier A permit to be compliant, and to do that, we need to retrofit or replace all our municipal storm drain inlets with Tier A permit standards. About half the drains in the city are not up to compliance with the Tier A. That is going to cost us about $225,000. So what we're talking about here is just replacing the grates. They've got to be bike safety grates. You'll see some of the old grates will have these long lines, and if you ride a bike across it, you get the bike stuck in it. And then curb retrofits. The curb structure of the inlet requires not just an open space, but now kind of a slotted space so that debris can rise up a little bit, water still goes in. It's kind of like your kitchen sink. So we are required to do that. We're also required to complete the mapping of the stormwater system. So we have mapped all of the inlets and outfalls in the city. We now need to map all the pipes and the culverts underground. So that is a big project. We're working on, we've obtained an estimate from the city engineer. That'll probably cost about $15,000. A lot of that work will be done by the Department of Public Works. It's a very old school approach where you look into an inlet and see which way the pipe is going. And then you make a mark on a map, and that gets sent off to the engineers who then put it on GIS software. So that's also a requirement. We have to have that complete by December 31st. And then two last things. I'm seeking $40,000 to grind stumps and replace trees throughout the central business district. We have a lot of stumps in the central business district. These are hazards, and we would like to have them ground. And we would like to plant some new trees to freshen up the district. That program will be overseen by the Shade Tree Commission. And then lastly, here at the flood, at the Justice Center, wonderfully, we've been obligated for what's called a FEMA 406 mitigation grant. And this grant will be a 60-40 cost share. And the grant will put new floodgates on the front and the back of the building. And these are mechanical floodgates that rise as water kind of falls into the chamber. It automatically rises the gates. And there's a building in the north part of town that has them. I've seen them operate. The building owners showed me. They're impressive. What's that? It's Diamond Silver. Yeah. So wonderfully, we've been working on this for a couple of years, Cindy and I, and we've been obligated for this grant, which means we have the money, which is good in this environment. So we're pleased that the grant has been obligated and we're moving forward. We already have permission from the State Historic Preservation Office. We're just seeking, I think, permission from the DNR Canal Commission, and then we'll be ready to finish the design and go out to bid. So I'm very pleased about that project. So that totals just over $1 million, and just wanted to note that again, that FEMA mitigation grant will be reimbursed for 60% of that, which is $150,000, which will eventually be used to pay down the bond ordinance. So that's where we are with the capital budget. Are there any questions from the council on any of these items?
I was talking to Councilman Stegman, he brought up some good points about the new equipment that we're buying and making sure that we're, you know, obviously when they're sitting outside and they get salt, you know, a lot of water and everything like that, seems like they're deteriorating at a faster rate. So he had expressed some concerns about how we're gonna maintain the equipment that we're buying, which I think is something that we do need to look into and address.
I do as well. I also want to be mindful of how much we've been borrowing in the last few years, which has been a lot, right? I'm going to be very upfront, and I'm happy to provide all of those numbers. All those numbers are on the city website. But in the last 3 years, we've bonded a great deal of money for, $1 million alone for the library. You know, so we're finally taking care of things, but I also want to be mindful of kind of, you know, we're not bonding for any road works this year. We feel like the roads are in pretty good condition. Those areas need to be patched. So I'm trying to begin to take a more conservative approach to bonding. We have a 5-year capital plan, which we really pretty much filled everything that we set out to do. You know, we talked about the report, what's the name of the report? The 2022 report, 21, the facilities report. What was it called? I forget.
Facility study.
Yeah, I forget what it is. Anyway, we've done a lot of work, and I know that was a concern for John, or other members of the community. We really kind of used that as a template for some of the work that we've done. We still have a lot of work to do in the city. City Hall still needs some capital improvements, but we've made a lot of good progress. I think the point is well taken. I think that next year we get an estimate on putting in a full barn. You know, we had hoped that the $500,000 that we got from the state for the upgrades to the DPW yard was going to include that. It didn't, but we got a lot of value out of the $500,000 we did over there. So I think I'm happy to consider that. I think we should probably wait just a little bit on that. If the council feels very strongly about that, we'll take a look at it before next year. Yes.
In addition, I'd like to see, and I think the public should see, how much our bonds are costing now. How many more years do certain bonds go up or down? And how does this, you had mentioned we've bonded a lot. I have not seen a comparison or a chart, and excuse me if it's online, about the bonds that we currently pay, when they start to come down, when they start to go up or become neutral, before I vote on $1 million of a bond. I think that the public really deserves to know, you know, how much are we, you know, paying and get a handle on, you know, on the life expectancy of the bonds that we put forward. And I know we've seen this information before, but I haven't seen it recently, and I certainly haven't, before I vote for this. Before I vote positively for this, I think the public and the council should have that information presented to us.
Certainly some of that information, I believe, I'm just gonna check here, Cindy, I think that there's some of this on the finance page from the.
Yeah, I'm on the finance page now. There are financial documents. Internet's slow.
Well, my feeling is whenever we went to the taxpayer and those who vote for these things, it's important to see where we are before we vote on something that adds another bond in. I'm not saying that these are not important things, and I'm very concerned about the city's taking a position where several few years ago, we spent 300 some odd thousand on a truck. Now we're spending another 300 or so thousand on the truck, and there's no way to protect them from the elements, which is why the ones that we currently have deterioration because of just being on the roads and.
What's that?
You can find this information. It's in the Moody's Investment Report.
Yes,
But we haven't done it for 2025, but we're just beginning to incur debt for now.
right,
But if you go on there, it's on the finance page.
it is.
You look in the 2024 tab and, let's see. There's like 7 pages where it gives like an overview of our credit status. And then there's a page that goes into key indicators that mentions our, recent income, the values, the leverage, the fixed costs that we have. And then, talks about economy a little bit, but it also does talk about our debt. But in the past, Mayor, we have had, and I believe it was the bond council, or maybe it was Phoenix Advisors, who's taken everything and given us an idea of how we're paying down the debt and what remains and what years we're in, and it might not be a bad idea to actually, ask for that.
Sure.
again.
Yeah, I think,
But it's under the 2024 February update to credit analysis.
I'd like to hear from our bond council about, if we're selling, part of that property, we could use some of that money to pay down other debt, not necessarily those bonds, just because these bonds are gonna be a lot higher than the bonds that we took out to, 2019 when that project reported. So I think I would like to hear from the bond council, like how we should be using that, if there's any way to use the money we're using, generating through the sale of part of the Boston property, if we could use that to, some of these higher interest bonds.
or at least look at it and then decide, and can have the council decide how we're going to use that income. And what's the best use of it, if we're thinking about, this is off the top of my head. If we're thinking about that, we have other things we want to do, and we want to do a moratorium on bonding. So if we get X amount of dollars from the sale of the farm market, well, why don't we use some of that money to plug into other holes we have?
There's a financial strategy here, and I don't wanna get in the weeds because I'm not a financial expert, but.
Well,
For
that's,
a couple of things. So we rolled into a long-term, a lot of our debt is now in long-term bonds, right? So we have, when we borrow money, it goes into short-term notes. And then after 3 years, we have to make a decision about whether we roll it into something longer term or whether we're going to, continue to finance it that way. So as money comes in from the sale of property or whatever, typically that would be put into reserve for debt service. And the financial advisors will advise us about the best strategy about when to pay down certain debts or when to hold the money. If we, for example, have $1 million that we have that's just come in for the sale of property, and just making this up, does it make more sense to put that in a CD for a year while we're not incurring additional payments through this debt, or does it make more sense to pay down the debt? So, these are questions really that are for the financial advisors, and that we handle typically, year to year with in consultation with Michael Drulis and the CFO. So I don't wanna, I'm happy to see, I'm happy to get you the amortization schedule, of the debt, before the next meeting. I just don't know that, you know, for the introduction, I would hope that we could move forward with the introduction. We have projects that are important to do. The recycling truck did not start this morning. And if you remember, the trash truck, it's not just a question of the trucks being outside, it's a question of them being very old. Right, so when we were using the backup trash truck 2 years ago, which was from 1998, it died on North Main Street and had to be towed back to the yard full of trash. And then the trash truck died. And we were scrambling, we were using the small trash truck, and the trash truck is the same age as the recycling truck. So, you know, the scheduled replacement, the typical scheduled replacement for these things has not been met. We have not cycled responsibly. And, you know, we have to move, I think we have to move forward. I had a conversation with the DPW today about the truck. I can tell you, it's gonna matter a lot more when we're having to scramble to figure out recycling, because we can't use a trash truck for recycling, right? So if the recycling truck, you know, we can make do with the trash truck, because we got the smaller one, and there was a time when they were actually picking stuff up in pickup trucks when that truck was gone.
Yeah.
So, I feel very strongly that, we need to move forward on this. I mean, certainly we can get you the information we need, and we can have conversations about debt amortization and what's the best approach and how much we owe and all of that, but, I'm not prepared to have that discussion tonight.
I'm comfortable moving forward with the introduction, but I do think we should ask the bond council, because I think it's unusual that we're gonna have this money through the sale of that property. I just wanna make sure we're utilizing it the best way to pay down the debt that we should.
It would be the financial advisor, not the bond counsel. The bond counsel just writes the bond ordinances pretty much.
And he does work with
He
the
does.
financial advisor. It's like a team effort.
Right.
I don't have a problem for it, kind of like the way this, I'll lay out the way I understand our debt right now, because the old debt that everyone complained about was front loaded, so now we're paying very little on that. That's what we went to debt now for the Clausen property, which they're no longer notes, a lot of this new debt are notes, so, you know, what we're paying now is, you know, kind of flossing on, you know, in terms of debt. Thought the idea was to, when we sold that farm market or whatever, that we use that to pay that off. If we ever get the Green Acres money, this is like but I mean, we talk about it like it's happening tomorrow and kind of not, but the money that's around, you know, that comes in, that's always new, really revenue to the city, just the way I think about it is, you know, probably the cannabis, and I was gonna say the pot money, which really isn't apropos, but cannabis money and things like that, you know, a bunch of, you know, can start coming in better, or maybe, you know, there could be, you know, I'll look at that, but that's just the way, just sharing, the way I think about the, you know, the debt.
And sometimes the bond ordinance that was written for that particular project, and I might be off with memory, but I think the Paulson property, any funds that come in through the sale property, I think have to go to pay down that.
That was my understanding.
Yeah, that
Was
bond,
that
that-
anything we
The way that
made
was
on the
written.
sale?
I would,
You guys-
rather than have that discussion here,
Yeah.
I'd like to have that discussion
Okay,
with
great.
our professionals.
Yeah.
And we're just introducing this ordinance tonight.
That's all we're doing.
So
Yeah.
for the public hearing.
That's great.
I'm just about to say, we're ready to move on.
It's, yeah, I don't have a problem introducing it, but I certainly would like to get more information.
Yeah, and, you know, it would be nice to have Michael to talk to us more about, you know, the capital, doing capital, or, you know, things like that. Yeah, no, a full education, I agree, you know, because you don't want to be sitting up here on a Thursday night, you know, trying to teach yourself about bonds, or, you know, we need to,
Yeah.
you know,
No,
learn. Yeah, I agree, I'm with you,
fine.
I'm with you.
Listen,
No, I'm with
I
you,
didn't-
I'm like, I would like to, you know, the more you learn, the better off you can, better decisions you make. We make, right?
So. That's fine with me.
That's
I mean, I don't have a problem introducing. I just want, I
Would you like
think,
to make the motion to introduce it?
no, I don't.
I'll make the motion to introduce,
There you go.
ordinance number 14-2025 with a public hearing scheduled for June 26, 2025. Is there a second to that? Second?
I'll second it.
Oh,
Oh, give it to the council.
Let's do a roll call on this one.
Councilwoman Kaminsky?
Yes.
Councilman Wise?
yes.
Councilman Segman?
Yes.
Council President Lambert?
Yes.
Mayor Norton?
Yes. Okay. Moving on to discussion items and updates. I'm gonna do this slightly out of order, because it makes a little bit more sense to me in the moment. The affordable housing update, as probably most people know, the planning board adopted the housing element fair share plan last night. That has been uploaded to the court system, I believe. Already it's required to be done within 48 hours of adoption. The council will look at this in its meeting on the 26th. And is scheduled for endorsement on that time, after which we will submit the final version of the fair share, the housing element fair share plan to the state. And then in the coming months, we will be required to do some additional work, ordinances to support the plan. So stay tuned with that. We will have at least one more affordable housing advisory committee meeting on the 25th, which is Wednesday. At our last meeting, we had a lively discussion about the future of that committee and how it might evolve into something potentially different, or a different version. So I think that that's a fascinating conversation. Maybe we'll look at, we'll evolve into some committee that looks at the master plan and does some other things. So stay tuned for that. Music Mountain stormwater project is going very well. I've been out there every day. It's a huge project, and if you remember, it was from a federal appropriation in 2023, $450,000. They've probably got another 2 or 3 days worth of work to finish putting in the pipes, and then they'll do some restoration work. So that's going well. The library is going well. A note or two about Cavallo Park. I met with LSRPs last week. I was hoping to have a proposal for, give me just a second to find notes on this. We have a proposal for approximately, to remove approximately 310 cubic yards of soil that will need to be excavated as part of the process. Still have some draft numbers, but I'm hoping that, they said they were going to give me this the estimate by midweek. I'll check in with them tomorrow. I didn't have a chance to do that today. Ideally, I would like to get this, turned around quickly and get it out to bid. My best case scenario would be that by the July council meeting, we would be able to award the job to a contractor and get the part cleaned up. So as soon as I have more concrete information on that, I will share it with everybody. Just a couple of other kind of announcements and updates. Crystal Lawton, the technical assistant in construction, which will have an accident this week and broke her ankle quite badly. She's going to be out of work for several weeks at a minimum. So I'm going to be filling in a little bit over there, and we're going to ask people just to be patient because her job is so specific and so technical that there really isn't anybody who can replace her. So we're coming up with a little bit more of a cohesive plan for that in City Hall over the next few days. But I wanted everybody to know that things are going to be moving probably a little bit slower in the construction office in the coming weeks. Also, one other announcement, this morning I had the pleasure to go to TCNJ to accept a grant of $20,000 that was offered to the city by Sustainable Jersey. And this is not a grant for the city specifically, it's a grant for residents. Marianne Borge, the chair of Parks and Rec, wrote a wonderful grant in which residents who are interested in removing some of their lawn, not necessarily all of it, and planting native species, either flowers or trees. The grant will pay residents up to $700 to do that. So it's a really nice program. It's encouraging resilience and stormwater management. And it was great. It was a great moment to be over there this morning. And it was, you know, the program was based on a survey that the Parks and Rec did it. They got about 90 responses and about 77% feel so they were very likely to participate. So we expect it to be a strong program and a good one. And I'm very pleased to be there, and Marianne in particular for this great grant. One other announcement I'm going to make on June 25th, there's going to be a sheriff's sale of 3 city-owned properties. One is at 310 North Union Street. It's called the Upset, which I think is the minimum bid, is about $205,000. That's a lot between 2 houses. It was a house that burned down. It's not actually a buildable lot, I don't think. So we'll see what happens with that. There's another lot, 113 Swan Street. The upset price of that is just under $39,000. And if you're going up Swan Street, it's the wooded lot on the right, as you're going up the hill. And then there's a very small parcel on Route 179, which is also unbuildable. It's got an upset amount of just about $5,800. So we're going to make sure that all that information is on the website. We've contacted already some interested parties who expressed interest in these lots before. But this may be a good opportunity to pick up some land for real estate quite inexpensively. I have also on here the CBD capital improvements. So Michael Burns has been working with Councilman Stegman and myself to come up with a couple of plans for improvements in the CB Consent Business District. Council has approved one of the plans. Michael is now working on putting together, that's actually ready to go, an application to the planning board. That's a courtesy review that the planning board will do, and also the Historic Preservation Commission. Hoping that we'll be able to move those forward in early July. Depends on, it's a very crystal heavy kind of application. So we'll do our best to get those seen by the appropriate boards and get that project underway.
I spoke to Michael. I met with Michael today. They gave me an update on where he is, and they're really close to starting to get to send the applications to the Canal Commission and SHPO or whoever else we have to do besides our own team.
Yeah, sending it to the planning board documents on Monday. So that is all I have for updates. We have a couple of discussion items tonight. I want to talk briefly about business administrator. The Chamber of Commerce has made a request for some Friday night street closures, and the 2 things we want to talk a little bit about. Let's start with the Chamber request. So
Is somebody from the chamber here to talk about?
Brian's here, so he will happily jump in if we have any questions for him. So the success of the Friday night event, Shabfest weekend, the locals night, there was a lot of positive feedback from that, from residents and businesses. I think that went over pretty well. The chamber would like to build on that success and has proposed that the city consider doing some Friday evenings over the course of the summer, maybe 1 Friday a month. Initially, they had requested dates that coincide with the fireworks. However, due to kind of logistical concerns that I have and Lieutenant Brown have about safety and just traffic flow, we've said no to those dates. That said, it's still something that the chamber would like to consider, and I wanted to come take the temperature of the council, and I'll just throw out a couple of other things here. So for the Friday night Shabfest, the streets were closed down, I think, at 4 o'clock and then reopened sometime after 9 o'clock. The chamber is interested in partnering with the city on this. I did some calculations. There are 35 meters between Bridge Street and Church Street on North Union, and in the parking lot, an hourly rate of $1.50. So the meter revenue for 5 hours on a Friday evening would be just shy of $300, $262, which the chamber has graciously offered to pay if we move forward with this. Also, any support for the police department could be paid And if you remember, the way this worked was at Bridge Street, North Union was closed from Bridge to Church Street. Cars that were coming up Church Street were directed to turn right on North Union Street. So that allowed us to close off that half a block of North Union Street. And, you know, they're proposing sort of starting small and seeing where it goes, right? Maybe, you know, more live music, you know, maybe bistro dining tables, business vendor tables. It's really envisioned as a block party, with local businesses, you know, kind of doing things. You know, we've got all kinds of ideas kind of floating around. You know, really does offer a sense of kind of like, you know, just come and hang out and you know, wander the shops and all of that. So, I wanted to just see kind of where the council is on this idea generally, and we'll take it from there.
Well, I'm glad that the fireworks Fridays are not happening at the same time, because that was one of my concerns. My other concern is this. Is that Fridays are the start of a weekend here for the businesses in the central business district. There are restaurants on that block. We're talking about changing traffic patterns for that time period. And I personally think that if you want to get people in the city and have at night and do something, I would much prefer this not to be on a Friday night. I don't want to get into the competition where we lose all that parking and we lose the only city-owned parking lot for people, not only residents who have stickers, but for visitors to park. I'd like to explore the possibility of doing this or starting to test this, not on a Friday night. If the goal is to bring people to the community, there are already visitors here on a Friday night who are enjoying the city. So I'm not opposed to the idea. I'm opposed to the night that we're going to be impacting parking in the central business district. I think people expect to be in a position of being disrupted the Shad Fest weekend. And I think it's great that the chamber's taken the lead to do something on Friday night, the Shad Fest weekend. I think it's a great idea. I would encourage them to keep going, but on a regular basis, to take a night where we expect traffic and parking is in my view, I think it's better served to pick an alternate day and test it on an alternate day and not a Friday. You know, I had businesses in town for several years and owned property in town for several years, and I know what happens on a weekend in the city. And the thought to the visitor coming in or someone who comes to regularly into town and change the parking and traffic pattern if they want to get to a restaurant. I think that's a lot to ask. I have mentioned in the past that I think if you want to try something, close Client's Court down. There are 3 restaurants on that street. You can encourage the restaurants to have outdoor seating on Client's Court on a Friday night or a weeknight, but it's so less disruptive for the traffic pattern because you know the city has so many streets that go this way and a lot of streets that go that way, and to totally change the traffic pattern and have it impact Lambert Lane and Coryell Street, I think that's a bit much for me to you know, support something on the Friday night. That's, you know, I'm not against it, but I think it's the wrong night. If it's and the chamber has a responsibility to promote what we're doing. What we agree on, whatever it is, to make it well known in the region through advertising, through however the chamber wants to get the word out. And, you know, I've seen in the past where the chamber's been very proactive about getting the word out about certain events and not so proactive about getting the groundswell out for a new event that this apparently will be. So not faulting anybody, the chamber's been through a lot of presidents, chamber's been through a lot of member changes, the chamber's been morphing. I think it's in a really great spot. It's proactive, membership's very excited to do things, there are people that like to get things done. You know, they have a whole network of new people now that are there. No problem with that. It's the Friday night that I'm concerned with. And, you know, and that's kind of my feeling of it, so. Food for thought.
So is this for, because I know for Shad Festival, it was for locals night to come, there's obviously, there are a lot of locals in town that didn't like, you know, all, I guess, the little bit of disruption. So I think the idea the chamber had, and it was awesome. I was there. It was great. I hope you guys do it next year too. And bring a beer truck next time, please, because I think that's the one thing was missing. It was awesome.
So, been a beer truck in the past.
well, there wasn't this time, because I wish there was. But in any event,
He
so,
was very thirsty.
yeah, so I don't know if it's for like locals night again, or if it's to promote more people coming to town, but I think that's something we need to look into a little bit more. Because if it is for locals night, I don't know if maybe Friday night's the best night for that. Maybe it would make sense to pick a night that's slower to get people to come out. So I just think we should think about that a little more. The client board idea is a decent idea too, to start off. So I guess I would say I'm very interested to continue the discussion. I just think we need to know a little bit more, like, what's this purpose for? Is it to bring more people to town or to get locals to come and support the businesses? And I would also say that, you know, not every business is part of the chamber, although I would hope they would be. And so we would also want to make sure we do canvass all the local businesses that are going to be affected by this, because we just can't assume that, you know, they know what's going on. So.
So thanks, Alex. Let me just answer 2 points there. So, you know, the document they sent, it's really designed for residents, visitors, and local businesses. I mean, they're really concentrating on all three. What's the second one? Lost it. Welcome back. Councilwoman, Council President?
Well, I think, actually, I'm looking at the New Hope fireworks schedule, and it coincides exactly with every single one of my dates. Just saying.
Yeah.
Okay, but on the other side, this came from the chamber. And I think your points are, you know, are well raised. Maybe we need to have someone from the chamber have a discussion, you know, to kind of address the councilman's concerns. Someone's there.
Yeah, Brian, let's, if we can just finish out the comments and then we'll.
I got notes for everything.
Okay. Hang on.
Okay, no, I was just, and you know, I mean, as far as like the parking and well, and I would hope that prior to submitting this, or, you know, socializing this, that the chamber kind of worked within its own body to get cooperation from those businesses that are in kind of ground zero, if you will. I think the other thing on the parking is it's guaranteed revenue for the parking. So, you know, that's kind of just the point. It's kind of an offset because they will pay for the parking regardless, you know, the amount. Anyway, but I think we should hear from the chamber and kind of hear what their thoughts are.
The thing I wanted to remember, the thing I remember now is that, the chamber's looking for letters of support. So, you know, I told, when I spoke to Carolyn and Liz recently, said it's really going to be important for us as the council to make a responsible decision, knowing that the businesses, especially on the block, are in favor of this. Councilwoman, you haven't had a chance to speak.
No, I was just thinking that it might be, you know, I'd love to hear from the chamber, like, I'm all about, you know, helping them do stuff, but maybe be great if we, you know, I don't know if we're gonna resolve it tonight, or you wanna move on to something that maybe you and Councilman Stegman have a little stuff committee and meet with them and come up with what you think the proposal ought to be. It's kind of somewhat, you know, a bit of a round robin here, but, you know, that way, you know, you can kind of hash it out. And, you know, you have a voice in the council, you're there, Chamber's there, and, but come on up and.
Yeah, Brian, you just want to come up for a minute or two and speak and sort of talk and flesh this out a little bit more for us and add any other points that you'd like to make? This is Brian Streck, every Wednesday, member of the Chamber of Commerce.
Excited.
Okay.
Brian Schreck, New Hope lifelong resident, now current Jersey girl. Just moved to Lambertville finally, but I'm also co-proprietor of Meta Cafe around the corner. So I am in the thick of it with the chamber. I grew up in New Hope, graduated 04, been around, boots on the ground. I feel like I have a pretty good pulse. Councilman Stegman, to your point, one of the things was just to get the ball rolling was a Friday idea. First, this started as our answer to the fireworks. The New Hope wanted us to get involved. We thought it was an irresponsible way to spend our money based on what the constituents in town think, what the businesses think. We thought that when it's $30,000 per show, we didn't feel comfortable taking that on for a 10-minute show. However, we like to jump into the identity of Lambertville, the community with Locals Night. We wanted to kind of just jump off of that. It was convenient timing because New Hope was looking for money. We didn't feel comfortable, like I said. So this idea sparked from Locals Night to try to, while it's fresh in everyone's head, realize that it was a fun idea. This, for the record, is not to bring in a ton of tourism. This is a nod to the city. This is for the residents. This is for the place of community. I think that it was a really cool idea to have live music. This can be a pretty fluid idea. The Friday was just based on the fireworks. I know that I didn't know right away, doesn't matter necessarily, that we were proposing all those Fridays as the fireworks. We did ping pong the idea around that it would lead into it, but logistically it makes sense when the mayor called me. We don't even want to put Friday in the name of this. Some of the things that we're talking about are Lambertville after hours, something general so that it's movable. Doesn't have to be on Friday, could be on Tuesday, could be on Wednesday. As far as the businesses on that street, we don't want to upset anyone. Yes, we're the chamber. As a business owner, I am tapped into quite a few businesses. I'm not saying I'm not here to speak for any of them. We have floated this quietly in casual conversations. That block is not terribly long. I interact with almost all of them. I've already have the verbal support of it already. The restaurants on that street, they're down. They're already into it. They're excited that we're coming to you to present it. This can be moved. So we've used this location as an idea because it's where it was. It's a convenient idea. It's cool to have this open air way for you to bring your kids. I mean, Locals Night was attended young to old, right? The music was picked appropriately to not be offensive, but yet be exciting, not be boring, but not be crazy. We thought it was really well received. And that's what we wanted to just piggyback on. Spending the money on the meters and the police force and whatever else would need to go into it feels like a better spend for us and the businesses than 10 minutes of a show. That's always left. If you like fireworks, it's fine. I'm not here, but that is irrelevant. But I do think that this is a cool way to, during COVID, we tried this. The idea of it was kicked around, opening up the streets, the bistro tables. Doylestown has been doing it since COVID, and it's still doing it. Doesn't have, like, we're not hung up on the days of the week. We're not hung up on too many, like, fluid. And based on the feedback from residents, young and old, other business owners, they're definitely into the idea of it. Word would get out, the local night thing, we admittedly, you know, as we're going through it, could have promoted it better, but it was still wildly well attended. Like, word got around quickly for that. All we're looking to do is create a pleasant space. You know, we don't have a Palmer Square, right? So like, we don't have a place where people to just hang out with your neighbor, bring a lawn chair. We've already had brief discussions with the restaurants, which I would, as the hospitality person on the chamber,
literally, I already do this anyway. If you see me around town, I'm always walking about. I'm tapped into every single one of these places, whether friendly or just professionally, to promote to-go menus, to promote like Giuseppe's, grab a pizza, bring it to the parking lot. We have as simple as sidewalk chalk and bubbles. You bring your kids. The Bourbon Distillery has reached out to me. They have 25 licenses to do pop-ups. They're interested. We've just gotten a lot of very positive feedback on the idea. Some of the details in the email, I urge you not to get hung up on, because it was it's like just get it out on paper. And again, that's why we didn't want to say just first Friday, whatever. And moving it, like, the idea is if this gets legs, close it Client Square. I have a business on Client Square. I'm begging you to close it. I would love for you to close it. That's where it would be a great Palmer Square. That would be a great public space. But if we can't do the public space because there's so much into that, why not just dip your toe into it? Why not just for 4 hours a month, when the weather's nice, give it a shot? And it feels like a low risk, high reward for us. And we're willing to do all the legwork. We're just asking for you to either hear us out further or give us the go ahead and let us do all the heavy lifting.
You did a good job selling.
I'm doing my best here.
Well, if you guys, if I work, if it turns out that I'm working with you guys, that's great.
Oh,
you're
working.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying over it. We're a great time, and I do
No,
appreciate what you said about the chamber.
The reason I say this is I'm pretty sure I know about logistics because I ran that festival for 17 years, just so you know. Not bragging about it, but probably put 10 years on my life. I probably aged 10 years in one night. But if you're open to picking a different night.
Sure.
And let's try it, and eventually, if it picks up the momentum, then we can talk about expanding the thing.
That's all we're asking for. We're like, the classic, just give me a chance, just let us try it. We're, like you said, this board, I've been on the Delaware River Towns Chamber, the board of directors since 2017. All different iterations, all those presidents, all those directors, I've been at the table with all of them. I left for a brief period because it was getting a little out of hand, back because I feel it is as healthy as it's been in a long time. We have some young go-getters, like what you said, we want to put the work in. We're here to do that. We have fun doing it. Look at Church Street, look at the amount of young people in their mid to late 30s opening up businesses. They want to be here and they want to do interesting things. And it's been cool at the chamber stuff, various other events throughout the year. Like just the point of it being that everyone's hungry, for lack of a better term, to just have fun. Like, we're not taking this too seriously, just serious enough to get it done. And then let the town do what they want with it. That's what we're just here to have fun. We want to.
So are we.
Like, like with everything's getting everyone's kind of shoulders to the ears. This is like, just let your hair down, chill out. Everyone was super behaved from what we saw, and we just want to like capitalize on that recent memory. See what happens.
Okay, sounds great. So I would propose that maybe Councilman Stegman and I meet with you or Carolyn sometime. Ideally, from my perspective, I would love to be able to make a decision about this the next meeting so that we don't lose the whole summer, because we go to one meeting in July.
Sure.
So we can come up with something that the councilman feels will work in terms of an evening. I'm personally fine with a Friday, but I'm happy to work with whatever the council wants or whatever the chamber thinks is best. And maybe we can get something on the books as of the next council meeting. So
just crack the door open, let's talk.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
So last topic of conversation I wanted to talk about this evening, just to touch on papers everywhere, is the position of business administrator.
Sorry, it just made me get what I'm thinking about. Not the business, it's the transition from one to another.
Oh, okay.
But go figure.
So want to talk briefly about the business administrator position. We've talked a lot about this in the last, I think the last year. I think it seems to me that the council agrees that the time has come, the city's complex enough that we should probably have a little bit more help in City Hall. You know, I've talked to Frenchtown, they're interested in a shared service agreement. I talked to them, well, I've left messages and emails with the mayor again this week. They were waiting to kind of adopt their budget to see, you know, where they were in terms of finances. But they are very interested in doing a shared service agreement where we would probably have a business administrator working 3 days a week and they would take the business administrator 2 days a week. So I'm still waiting to hear back from them and get a firm commitment. I'm really on a personal level ready to move forward with a business administrator. I think that there's so much that happens, and Cindy can attest to this. So many projects, so many details, so much work that happens in City Hall. We want to keep the momentum going of the kind of things that we've been doing over the last couple of years. I think it's important to have some help, and I want to get some conversation going with the council tonight about this. For me, one of the most important components of a business administrator would be somebody who oversees the human resources department of the city. We have 32, I think, employees, and I mentioned this before. We have no HR department. I am the HR department. Sue Baker helps out, the city helps out, but it's really not a best practice. And puts a lot of stress and strain on all of us when something doesn't go according to plan. We all have to chip in, and that's great, but at the same time, we could definitely benefit from somebody else helping out in City Hall. So the administrative code does permit, make allowances for a city business administrator. And so just wanted to touch base with the council. We're probably still, a month or two away, hopefully sooner than that, from, buttoning the deal up with Frenchtown.
Right, if we need a business administrator, I can be okay with that, but we just can't do it under this ordinance. The old ordinance was written for a very special person in a very special situation, and it didn't really work out very well, as we all know, not to rehash it. So I think we really, will probably be really helpful too, which, you talk about like HR and stuff, is that we really need an ordinance that would really give more, first of all, a business administrator that was appointed not only by the mayor, but with advice and consent of the council and answer to the governing body. But that we also then, creates a new situation in City Hall. We really need to have like a hierarchy of who's doing what and who's under what umbrella, because a lot of what happens in HR issues is just that, because, as you grow, you need people's roles defined and HR is like behavior, it's health, it's these things, but we really have to put that in place to work efficiently. That is the most important part. But this ordinance, creates a situation where it's a one-on-one relationship with the business administrator, quite honestly, and the executive and nothing. And the business administrator could do whatever he wanted. And so I think it would be really helpful, and that everybody would know what they're doing, and we may be able, we have checks and balances, as our forefathers said, but we really need to rework that before we hire somebody. I'm not doing it until I understand the structure, because I don't want a business administrator that doesn't have to answer a question that anybody else has except one person, We really, we have to, a better plan.
I've been, and the mayor knows this, I've been bugging him about getting help in not only for him, but it then falls to you guys. And I think that, I responded to the mayor about what we should do with that, and I said more or less tear it up, because it gives way too much power. It's more like I'm thinking of in terms, I definitely agree about the HR. It's more like a project manager. It's like something comes across your desk, you do it because that's who you are. You don't have to, but you do, you take control of it. It'd be great to be able to assign these pods of things that are happening around us. To be able to have the flexibility to assign them projects to follow up on. So one person doesn't have to spend all their time, as the mayor does, as you do, Andrew. And gives some support to Andrew, and gives support to our administrative officers here, to our clerk and deputy clerk, where. You know, their plates are, I've said for years, the two people sitting to the right of me. Could put in the 24-hour a day shift and still not get to the end of what they're asked to do. And I'm thrilled that you guys accomplish what you do. But at one point, there's a saturation point, and I think we're at the saturation point, and I'm not questioning people's skills or anything. There's so much happening, it increases the possibility of someone dropping the ball. And I'm not saying they've done it, but you know, I think it would have to be broad enough to be able to plug into where the city needs someone to follow up on things. You know, it's like an administrative assistant, not so much business, you know, business. So I'm all for it. You know, Mayor and I have had this conversation for on and off 3 years about how, you know, and he's so willing to take on projects, but then, you know, he's getting saturated too. So I think this, however we craft this, it's to relieve and follow up. You know, we're not just a little city. We haven't been a little city in quite a long time. And, you know, now with changes that were made because we changed our class of who we are in the, you know, and that's a whole nother stormwater. There's a lot going on and a lot of people are doing a lot of work on it. But to have a point person that you can say, here, this is your project, go for it. And then interact with all the, you know, other agencies that you gotta interact. So.
My thoughts, and I think maybe we talked to Michael Drulis about this ordinance. I'm happy to do that. I think that he would be a good resource for us. I like to make this ordinance broad enough so that there's a lot of may at the discretion, you know, at the request or the requirement of the mayor. Maybe asked to do X, Y, and Z. One of the things I want to be mindful of when we're crafting this is that we're crafting this for hopefully the long term, right? So for, you know, what we want is that we want professional stability in City Hall that's not tied to a mayor or a political figure, right? So and we're lucky that we have such incredible employees. But I think that in terms of, you know, the HR is a huge thing, and I think that that's the biggest thing for me. And I think that, you know, we should be looking at how we approach things, right? So our current system is working well, right? So we have a budget consultant that works pretty well for the most part. It's not perfect because we have a part-time budget consultant, we have a part-time CFO. It's hard to get everybody together for meetings. It's hard to, you know, so it's not a perfect system, but it's worked pretty well. And I would continue with that system. So I don't necessarily feel like a BA needs to be breathing down everybody's neck about finances all the time, because we've got very responsible department heads, and we have regular meetings, and all the council has access to all of the monthly reports. And so, you know, I don't know how granular we need to get in terms of the financial oversight. We could, you know, there are a number of different approaches here. But I think with a 3-day-a-week person, you know, having somebody that could manage, you know, construction, capital projects, you know, when you start to think about all the projects that we've got going on right now, it's a lot. And you know, between Cindy and me and the professionals, it's a lot to keep track of. And I can list 10 things right now. And so, you know, we have an administrator who could oversee the HR stuff. It's super important to me. And I think we owe it to the staff and would be willing to just oversee some of the project administration, I'd be thrilled, but I think that would work very well for us.
That's, that's my concept as well, Mayor. And I think that would be great to, implement that with the proper person, and we'll see what happens in, with partnering or shared services with Frenchtown. But I think a project manager is, maybe we want to change the name to a project manager, not a business administrator. I mean, project manager is broader and business isn't in it, And quite frankly, we've had such a bad time with the business, with the title and the power of a business administrator. Change the name, but anyway.
We have one.
But we're
we have
on the
one
same page.
Business administrator, so, and I don't wanna.
And that was for a very short time. I do think we do need somebody who manages all of and oversees all of the human resources.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's,
Define their,
yeah.
define his role.
Yeah.
Cause this is really broad, like,
Yeah.
and that's what we're
But
really
the-
talking about, and I say, anytime he or she investigates the affairs of any office or department of the municipality. But, like, we need to create a job,
Yeah, we need
description, that's not this, there's a
and,
lot of.
there's a lot of
Manage all
resources out there.
inquiries about city government, that's what. A minute,
And the other thing
yeah.
that's really important is that this person is a standalone and it doesn't come in and shovel all of his work onto everybody else, because that's not how we do it.
No,
So, it's, and we can go, I mean, the League of Municipalities, we can get job descriptions, we've got a lot of resources out there that we can.
and they can help us too with a job, with a pool, job pool. So then we really want to think about, do we want somebody who's in that business administrator, like, silo, that's what they're
Yeah.
aiming for, a business administrator. Professional that kind of, gets it, and then they also know how to behave, and do things professionally, because you really, be trusting a business administrator to have more interface with, with the public and stuff, and that's a big trust factor. Because we do a lot of that hands-on here,
All right, so, why don't I, go ahead, sorry,
Yeah.
Council President.
I have a couple of comments about this. I don't have a problem with calling this a business administrator. That's fine. To Councilwoman's point, we need to have clear identification of responsibilities of this individual, of this position, what those responsibilities are. I also think, the way that the ordinance is written now, is that the mayor, that the position serves at the pleasure of the mayor and basically only is only accountable to the mayor. Has purchasing responsibilities, which I think we've sort of disseminated to our
Yeah.
finance organization. So, but the other thing that strikes me, we may want to take some time to think about is the whole shared services aspect of this. Because if our partner, Frenchtown, they need to be on board with, well, what's the whole, what do you expect from this person? Are they gonna write their own job responsibility? I'm just asking. And what if there's, dissatisfaction with either party? How is that resolved? And I think the way this ordinance is written now, I'm not sure that we want to have an ordinance to outline that, because you'll never get it right. But I think the way this ordinance is written now is literally whoever the mayor is could pull the plug on a business administrator, and then what happens to, Frenchtown, right? So I think we have to think about the partnership as well as how the position functions for ourselves. And that's why I think we need to really probably start with a cleaner slate, on this. But I agree, we could benefit from having.
And we'll have to decide what the structure is for the Frenchtown. Possible that they you know, it depends on how the interlocal is drafted, that's all. You know, we might be responsible, you know, our current, no, let's not get you in the weeds.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it may wind up where we have certain responsibilities of each person has, and he has different responsibilities for what Frenchtown has.
Right.
Just to fill each of our individual needs and then, you know, do a shared service and see how it works out.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the city attorney to start working on some of these ideas, in an outline form for us to consider. I think we still have some time, and I'm not gonna wanna do it right, I'm not necessarily looking to do it now. Right? It's important that we do it right, and that we do it right for the city, and make sure that it's the right position, with the right understanding about what the role is. A couple of other announcements before we go to the second public participation period. The New Jersey primary election will be held on Tuesday, June 10th. Polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you have a question, please contact the clerk's office or the county board of elections if you need information about the election. City offices will be closed on June 19th in observance of Juneteenth. The next council meeting will be held on June 26th. I'll just note that there's a conflict with the zoning board also having a meeting scheduled on June 26th that I've yet to sort out. But I've got to do that. I'm gonna do that Monday or Tuesday. I'll make a decision about how that's gonna roll. Monday, June 30th at 7 p.m. here, Cottage Hill residents are invited to attend an informational session with Veolia to discuss the possible connection to public water. Letters are going to be distributed next week with the details. All right, so I will now.
I just have one question. I thought we might want to, just because sometimes it's the elephant in the room, if there was any update on the Finkel's development, if you've had any communication with them at all, or, you know, just for the sake of, you know, because it was big and it was attended by over 200 people. So, you know, people everywhere you go, like going for coffee, people are asking about that.
Sure. So, I have had some communication with residents in the area of Finkel's. And I have had some communication with, John Connors from Brickstone Realty. There is, I think, a group of residents who are going to meet with Brickstone Realty, their own volition. I did offer to, provide the planning board attorney if, Brickstone wanted to set up an escrow account to pay for that.
No,
So-
I know, we just can't do that.
I'm
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have interrupted you, I'm
You
sorry,
shouldn't
but
have
it's,
interrupted. Thank
but
you.
yeah, I didn't, and I apologize for it, but my tongue is down.
Thank you. The planning board attorney thought that was fine, and I thought that it was, if the Brickstone was willing to pay an escrow fee for the planning board attorney, that the attorney could go to that meeting. I will not attend any meetings, in the interest of neutrality. And the planning board attorney could answer any questions about, what happened at the planning board. We would be acting on behalf of the city. So, and our residents. Anyway, so that's, what's happening. I have no idea when a meeting is going to be set, or if a meeting is going to be set, but, a lot of the neighbors, we're grateful for the opportunity to organize and reach out to Brickstone.
I would just say, I do not think it's a good idea to have the board attorney there. I think it's great that they're talking. I think that's where it should start. And, you know, let's see what happens after that, but I don't think it's a good idea to have the board attorney there.
Okay.
I responded to this. File, there's no, this is a concept at this point. I just think it's too, not that it's too soon, or not too soon to have our attorney, but you know, the thought of an applicant coming up and willing to pay the city attorney for his expertise on a project that is one paper big as far as I'm concerned, and pretty pictures. So I don't.
That's fine. I'll happily withdraw the offer. So
No, I think it's a great, thank you for making the offer.
Yeah, I just
Because
wanted our residents to have some legal,
Yeah.
That's fine, I'll withdraw it, so we don't need to talk about it anymore, thank you. Okay, so, we'll now open this up to public participation, same rules as before, 3 minutes of uninterrupted time. The council may or may not respond, and please do not, direct any comments to any one specific individual on the dais, that's not permitted by the ordinance.
I'm Jessie Bowers, 823. I'm commenting on the proposed, street closure for the Chamber of Commerce. Generally, love this idea. I think would be awesome, and I love the idea of having like more of a walking vibe in the central business district. Would love to find a way to make it work. I am a little bit concerned and would just like to have the businesses that are going to be on that block and also the businesses that are on the surrounding blocks to be part of the conversation. We're all not all a part of the Chamber of Commerce, and aren't all fully aware of like when the street closures are happening. I know I talked to a couple other business owners that weren't aware that the Friday night street closure was happening, and would have loved to be able to plan around that and like bring extra folk in and do marketing around that and like plan our businesses to be able to participate and be part of that too. And would also just love to, like, I also really appreciated the idea of bringing up different street, like Klein's Court potentially, because and I'm not saying that the block between Church and Bridge Street is a bad block by any means, because that would be awesome, but if we did do that block, that was like 35 parking spots, I think you said. It would be awesome to find a way to supplement those parking spots for when that street is closed. Or whether that be working with like the Verizon parking lot that is always empty on Church Street. Or working with one of the other surrounding parking lots of one of the private businesses in town, just to be able to supplement that parking that we're gonna lose on that evening. Also love the idea of potentially doing it on a night other than Friday to be able to bring business in on a night where it's not quite as busy, but would love to be a part of it. Like if it's something that's gonna be directly affecting the blocks, I really appreciate y'all being willing to talk with the businesses that are on those blocks that are gonna be directly impacted, because I think it's an awesome idea.
And Jesse, that was my concern, not every business is part of the chamber, and so I completely agree with you. We'll do everything to make sure that you guys are part of it as well.
Sean Ellis, 21 Belvedere. I have a few comments to make about business administrator. So a position which I don't oppose in any way necessarily, but it is all the devil is in the details and how you do it. And I appreciate Councilor Knitsky and Councilman Stegman's comments on that, and the need for a new ordinance. I will say that since I've been living in Lambertville, the 2 previous mayors have not needed a business administrator. Well, I think one of them thought they needed one, and then as you said, it did not end well. I think there was a settlement from verbal abuse and harassment that I don't know, I think it cost the city some money. And I guess Mayor Fall didn't decide that she needed a new one. After that, she was able to do what she needed to without it. Mayor, I know that you ran on a campaign of being a full-time mayor. They both had jobs outside of that. And now you're saying that it's too much for you to handle full-time.
Please don't direct your comments.
I'm asking you that it's too much for you to handle full-time at this point. Is it double the work that was previous?
Finish your 3 minutes and then I'll address your comments.
And I also did want to ask one other question. At the previous council meeting, you said that on June 5th at this meeting, you would make an announcement that you thought the Lambertville residents, particularly on Connet Hill, would appreciate. And I'm not sure if that was already if you already made that announcement or if you didn't. But do you want to tell us which announcement that was, or do you want to share it with us now?
When you're finished, I'm happy to address your points.
Okay, yeah, that's all I.
Thank you. So the idea that we were talking about in closed session was what would be the best way to potentially financially help residents who couldn't afford some of the testing. So we continue to have that conversation. Obviously, we started it this evening. Councilman Kaminsky and Councilman Lyde have volunteered to help people with the bill fund paperwork. So that's what we were talking about.
Okay, that was your announcement that you were gonna make?
I wasn't prepared to personally make that announcement tonight because I think that we still have some questions. I mean, the councilwoman has been talking about a fund that we don't have the balance of, and so I wasn't quite prepared to talk about that this evening, but it came up and that's fine. So that's where we are. We're working on something, and we'll provide more detail as soon as we have more detail. I mean, it's a process question. There's a variety of issues that we're still working on, so we'll keep you informed. I did run on a campaign of working full-time, and I do work full-time. I'm happy to work full-time, and I'm happy to do it until the end of my second term, and possibly into a third term. What I think is really important, though, is for the city to recognize that this is a complex organization, and the fact that we've had multiple problems that have gone back 10 years that slipped through the cracks is not because we have employees who are not doing their jobs. It's because the mayor's not supported enough in his or her role. So, you know, I have to take some issue with the idea that I'm peeling back or that I don't want to work as hard for the city. I mean, I find it a little insulting, quite frankly. I work very hard for the city, and I think that if we want to continue to have some of the successes that we've had in the last 3 years with grants, with improvements across the board, with complex ordinances, with resilience work, with stormwater work, all of this stuff, which I've done tirelessly and happily for this community, it would be wonderful to have some help. It would be wonderful to have some help, and that's all I'm gonna say on the matter. So
I have one follow-up question.
your time is finished.
No, you took all of my time.
No, I asked if you were finished and you said you were, so please step away. We're done. If you want to have a further
Really?
conversation. Yes, really.
Okay, well, have you considered potentially changing the structure of the council under the
I'm
Faulkner
not
Act?
having the
So
conversation
that
tonight.
we don't have a mayor that is getting us into these issues all the time?
Please step away from the dais. Your time is up. You're out of order.
I would just say one thing, Sean, about your comment about Common Hill. You know, there was a person earlier that said, you know, do we think about the people of Common Hill? And I think about the people every day on Common Hill. I use clean water and I have access to that. So absolutely, and I'm just speaking personally, I think we need to do everything we can because people on Common Hill that are still drinking water that is poisoned, they're not doing it because they can afford to put filters in there. It's because they have no other alternative. So yes, we need to do something.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I know where you stand, and Councilwoman Kaminsky, I don't know where the other folks necessarily stand on that.
Sean, I echo Councilman Lyde's sentiments. I went on record quite some time ago about my feelings about this project, having learned about contamination, and I stand by that. I think it's really important to provide a little, support. And I mean little in the sense, it's not little if you can't afford the $600 for a test. But it's little in the sense of what these people have, what you and your neighbors have been exposed to over many, many years. Basically, for a lot of them, their whole lives. And it really breaks my heart that we're crying about this juncture.
I'd like to echo, Council President. This is life and death up there. It's cancer. It's, and it hasn't, the whole PFAS issue is relatively new, a new issue as far as the DEP or the EPA is dealing with. And, the DEP is now unofficially going through the new federal regs to accept it. And just so people who haven't reached out and spoken to Greg, who's the spearhead over at the New Jersey DEP, is bending over backwards to help whoever calls on the phone. Picks up the phone, If it goes to voicemail, he calls you back, he's full of great advice and maybe he should come here and
Yeah, that hasn't been my experience. I've reached out to him several times about the way that they're they're doing their extent testing. They're not doing it in concentric circles like they presented in December. They're doing all the testing within the known area of contamination as I sent to you all in that email. And I would love for someone who actually gets a call back from him to make that call and ask, what are you doing? Why aren't you testing across 179 at Music Mountain? We know Cottage Hill has contamination. We know Quarry Street has contamination. The gentleman, John Henchek, was just talking about it. I mean, why are they concentrating all of their stuff in that one?
I can't answer that.
Okay, but maybe you could call
it's a
and then
good-
get a call
it's
back.
It's a good question to ask.
Yeah.
I can't answer for them. All I can say is when the person's on the phone who's handling all of our calls and is our contact person, they couldn't be nicer and helpful so far. Now, what
Great that.
the DEP is doing on this level, I don't deal with DEP on that. I'm dealing with, because my well, as on Cottage Hill, my well has PFAS in it. So now I'm starting the same process that everybody here has started, but, we'll see how it goes.
Thank you.
But, I share your feelings, but, I'm happy that they're here doing what they do now. Who knows what it'll lead to?
Yeah.
Maybe let them do their thing and, it's.
Okay, so you're still
I-
in discussion with the mayor who disagrees with your position?
I don't.
I haven't expressed a position on this.
Well, everybody else is in support of it, but you're
Please,
not.
I'd like to move on to the next person.
Of course
You
you
take
do.
more than
Of
your
course you
3
do.
minutes.
Jeff Tittle, 33 Wilson Street. I just want to thank you for stepping up. I actually have some help for you. Harvey Klein, who owns Garden State Labs, is a friend of mine. In fact, his office is in my old neighborhood where I grew up. And his wife I went to high school with. And he's somebody I've been working with on toxic chemicals for a lot of years in drinking water. And the reason is that when you develop a standard with the Drinking Water Quality Institute, you also have to have somebody who's willing to put in the equipment to test for it. And so he was the person that I sent Sean to originally, who did a lot of the original tests. And he just opened a PFAS only lab in Lakewood. And that's all they test for, so there's no cross contamination. And he offered me, so I want to give it to you when you come across people who need help, at least 6 or maybe 10 free tests that he will do and come to their houses and do it without a charge.
That's amazing.
So,
That's fantastic.
so I just want to make sure that you understand, that the people have been listening and have been hearing and they want to help, so I just want to offer Harvey. And the only other thing, I just wanted to go back to court today. I thought the most ironic part of the whole case was Hovnanian attack about the police station because of the units, the 5 units there. And then, when our attorney mentioned about the Habitat for Humanity, he was scoffing at it. And the irony, what caught me at that, listening to it, was we had the 5 units going into Clawson. It didn't happen. We pull them out, we put them to the police station. That doesn't happen. And now we're back on Clawson, and that was attacking that. I just thought it was kind of the only kind of semi-light movement of not a great day. Well, anyway, thank you.
Judy Gleason, 86 North Union Street. So I just had a couple of things I wanted to point to following, first of all, the comment that Councilman you made about looking at budgeting and bonding things ahead of time or in a way that people know what's going on. So it occurred to me that I hadn't seen a Moody's report about our town in a while, so I've been sitting here, I looked it up, and I think it's interesting and important for us to realize that Moody's points to our credit strengths in Lambertville. Willingness to raise property taxes, there's a credit strength for you, and above average resident wealth and income basis. And credit challenges, elevated long-term liabilities, with high fixed costs. And I know, having been one of those people that goes door to door sometimes during election season, we have parts of town where it's actually not higher than average incomes. And it's actually not this great setup. So just to support the point made earlier, let's be looking at what we're doing in terms of our costs and bonding, bearing in mind that parts of town are way more well off than they were when I first moved here 20-some years ago. And parts of our town have not changed at all and have perhaps not even done as well as they were doing now. So that was one of the things around budget. I just wanted to point out that we're not the only ones who realize that we have both ends of the spectrum right in our town. We need to pay attention to that. And the other thing, without going into the business administrator, which you know I would love to, but I'm not going to, I'm gonna say, we haven't heard anything about the playground when we learned that the playground at the school didn't have any permits. And therefore it's open to just the kids who go to school there, but not the public. I haven't seen anything, so I don't know where the permitting process has gone. I mean, I would like to know, but I think other people in town would like to know, because several people have asked me because their kids don't have any place to play also. So if that's something you can speak to tonight, that would be great. Thank you.
I'm not gonna be able to speak to that. I don't know what's happening. If they have a zoning board application, I don't know. We could certainly call the construction office and find out. I'll have
So
to.
you're the construction.
I'm not a construction officer. I'll have to get back to you on that. I don't know whether they're submitting an application just yet. So.
I do know there's a sign still on there saying.
I-
I picked up my son there the other day. And I saw that. So.
I know that it's
A
still,
point of clarity, which playground and school are you talking about?
the playground that's at the church.
Yeah, the Vanderbilt Academy playground.
Oh, okay, I just,
That's all it-
we have a couple of.
Oh, you were thinking the playground at the school, yeah.
School and
It's
Ely
the one at
Park.
Vanderbilt Academy.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember the name of it.
yeah, thank you.
Paul Stevens, 39 Quarry. Yes, this is gonna be a budget comment, and I just want to, really, you know me in the budget, and especially in terms of capital and wanting to have a strategy and know what we're doing as opposed to just doing things as one-off and all. And so the sort of information I want to see is, I want to see what our debt service looks like for the next 30 years. I mean, I don't want to know, I don't want to go to the financial documents I have and try to figure out what our debt service looks like from how much our debt is. I want to see it laid out, okay? And because we are, in terms of long-term needs, as Moody's pointed out, we are going to have a lot of long-term needs. What we're starting to address right now in terms of stormwater is just the regulations for the tier 1 that the state has put on us. It's not doing anything to help with our resiliency. I'm sorry, $20,000 grants for tearing up some yards, that's nice, but it's not gonna stop the flooding of Swan Creek and Powhatan Creek. The creek beds have come up because of all of this, and we haven't been taking care of the creeks, and it's gonna take money to do this. Right, so yes, I do wanna see it all laid out, and, yeah, I support you guys in looking into it.
Just want you to realize how bad it is up there. I am a 2-time cancer survivor. My sister lived up there. She just got diagnosed this week, her 2nd time around. This is a serious issue. This has been in front of you for almost a year. And we're still talking about getting people done and getting tested and helping them out. They will sit down with you anytime. Between Sean and Beth, we have a list of everybody on there that's been tested, is in the process of getting their water tested, put in there, and who has not been tested. I sent that same list to DEP. First time around, they tested people that have already been tested, which they didn't need to do. Second time around, send the same thing, a letter, who needed to be done, who was done. And would you know that they still are sending letters to people that have already been done? Where people that have not been done could be done. I don't know what else to do, We have been involved with everybody up there to get their application done, to make sure that they get their vocation for water rotation put in. All the paperwork. This should not be an issue almost a year later of getting people done up there. It has crossed over to West Amwell. It is out on Old York Road. It is on 179. I don't know how far it is into Lambertville. I don't know where the wells are, where water is. But God forbid, kids growing up, drinking this water. I don't want to see them having cancer or anything else associated with it. So please, really think about what's going on between the development. Put new people up there with the contamination, it's not a good idea. And we know it's gonna take years to remedy that situation. Get the dirt out of there, clean it up and stuff. This is not an overnight thing. But for now, we need to take care of the people that are living up there. That's it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room? You're not gonna be recognized again, you have to recognize.
Wait,
No,
no, that's not the rule. You
Yes,
can go
it is.
again if there's not anybody else in line.
no, we're finished. No.
Can you show me where the rule is, please? Because I thought I read it.
I'm the chair of the meeting. And,
Mayor, can I just interrupt 1 second? Please let them talk. That's what we're here for, and that's what you're here for. We want to get stuff resolved around here.
Fine, we have 3
Thank
more
you.
minutes, and that's it.
My son is a cancer survivor. He was diagnosed at 16 years old. And I think it's probably a combination. I don't know for a fact, but of where we were on Cottage Hill, the fact that the high school had PFAS and was only remediated and the middle school only remediated in 2023, and where we're living now. And my next door neighbor has 2 kids who have had one who has cancer, one who had his colon and large intestine removed because of ulcerative colitis when he was in middle school. She's a stage 4 cancer person. Another friend, survivor, another friend just down the street was just diagnosed 2 months ago with cancer that is related to PFAS contamination and exposure. And it's just really, really cruel to be ignoring the plight of these people. I was next door because the city employee who I live next to couldn't get off of work to meet someone to give him an estimate. This is a very complex situation because he doesn't have room in his house for the filtration system. And so it's not just an estimate from the water vendors he needs to get. It's an estimate from someone who's going to put an addition onto his house or insulate the shed enough to get to be able to get it installed and get it paid for by the spill fund. The water vendors don't do that kind of thing. This guy doesn't have a computer. He and his son have been working for the city for decades, and he's getting nothing. I'm going there, I'm taking the photos of it, I'm meeting the vendor because nobody can be there because they're working. I mean, yeah, enough said.
Anyone along the city?
No, there were no hands raised.
Have a motion for public comment period, please.
Don't move.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
At this time, adjourn. So moved. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
lot of people in for the books, you know, so,